I think this is actually worse than the adpocalypse. I would call this the copyright Armageddon. Today's video is sponsored by Native Sons Goods, makers of the highest quality woven guitar, bag, and camera straps you'll ever see. Native Sons straps are handmade one at a time in the USA with unparalleled love and care. Click the link in the description to check out their new expanded lineup featuring all new 3-inch guitar straps. And remember, when you support my sponsor, you support this channel, and I sure appreciate it. Hey, how's it going, everybody? Brad the Guitologist here. I wanted to do a follow-up on the video that I made the other day about copyright issues. Glenn Fricker and a bunch of other YouTubers had posted videos around the same time as my video, within a couple of days of each other, talking about all these copyright strikes and everything that they're starting to get. Glenn Fricker was one. Paul Davids was another big one that got a lot of attention. Rick Beato made one. There are numerous other YouTubers also who are getting strikes. Jared Dines was one of the big ones who had gotten some weird strikes on his channel. Copyright claims, actually. But I wanted to talk a little bit more about this and follow up with it. In the comment section of my last video, a bunch of people have been asking about certain things, and there's been a good discussion about such things as image rights. There's been a good discussion about synchronization licenses. One commenter pointed out that the guy from Leapfrog Studios, who does all the cool, metal covers of certain 80s songs and such, that guy actually acquires synchronization licenses from the rights holders to the music that he decides he wants to cover. And that's all well and good, and that's probably a good move on his part because he has an audience that's built in. And he can kind of gauge whether or not it's going to be worth it for him to pay for such a license. He can sort of guess at how many hits he might get for such a video. And therefore, it might be worth his while to go to the copyright holder and buy a synchronization license rather than just upload something to YouTube and then cross his fingers and hope that the company doesn't take the video down or block it worldwide, for one, and take half of his revenue for another. You would have to get millions of hits probably for a synchronization license to be worth your while. Luckily for him, he does get millions of hits on most of his videos, so therefore he's probably okay with that. Okay, so if we look here at my top grossing videos of all time, you could see my top grossing one was Look What I Found Smashing a Guitar Center Dumpster, which was a pretty popular video, and it only made about $1,000. I think I had about 650,000 hits on that video. My highest ranking video in terms of hits of all time, Rock Block Turned My Freaking Records Gay, only made about $844 for that 677,000 hits. So you could sort of say, for every 100,000 hits that you get, you're going to get maybe about a little more than $100, probably about 120 bucks or 125 bucks, maybe something like that. That's probably reasonable. So if you scale that up, you might have about $1,200 for every million hits. So if you decide you want to do that and go that route and use a sync fee, then you would have to really project that you're going to get X number of hits, and you don't want to pay any more than X because you're just as well off probably just uploading the video and letting them do a copyright claim and let them take half of the money. That way you kind of mitigate your risk. So it's a risky thing to do, to go out on a limb and buy the synchronization, and also then you've got to turn around and record the thing. So you don't want to record something before you get the synchronization license, and you don't know if something's going to be really great, and sometimes until after you've recorded it. So it creates a lot of challenging issues in your thought process. You'll notice a lot of comments on that video focused on the shirt I was wearing. I was wearing an Elvis shirt in that video, and people were saying, hey, it's not going to be too long before they start coming after the image of Elvis, or start coming after the image of Johnny Cash back there. Or the Elvis shirt that I was wearing, though, that might be a good point to be made there. Now, the shirt itself had a license from the manufacturer. So the manufacturer of that shirt had to obtain a license in order to manufacture and sell the shirt. Now, I'm sure that license extends to the end user in some capacity. I'm not an expert on that, so I don't know what capacities that extends to. I don't know if that extends to print media or being on, being broadcast on TV. just to display the image of this Superman logo in a lot of instances would require me technically to have to pay a license fee for this. However, in my current capacity, doing what I'm doing right now, informing an audience in a journalistic fashion, this is absolutely fair use. I'm using this. This is just happens to be what I'm wearing right now when I decided to talk to you guys. So this could probably be a good argument for fair use if somebody did try to claim this video on the basis of this copyright. However, that's U.S. law only, because most of those laws and court cases have to do with First Amendment cases in the United States. So that's probably not going to translate overseas to a lot of places. The EU might be a good example, especially with their new Article 13 and everything that's coming in. You can very quickly see how governments or personalities or corporations could silence dissent based on copyrighted images that are in someone's video. Let's say, for instance, someone goes out to cover the Yellow Vests protest that's taking place in France right now. So you've got a reporter on the street. They're out there trying to report on the Yellow Vests. They're interviewing some guy on the street, and he just happens to be wearing a Superman shirt like this, and he's talking about the things that he saw, the things that are going on. Maybe he talked about seeing some police brutality. And then let's say that those people who he's accusing of wrongdoing, they know the guy who owns the copyright for the shirt. They call him up and say, hey, I want you to take this video down if you don't mind. Do me a favor. You know, we go way back. We were in school together, whatever. You can very quickly see how this stuff could be abused. And it's very possible that videos like this could be taken down on the basis of just me wearing this shirt. Now, again, I can look at the tag on this shirt, or I can look back here and I can see that it's an officially licensed product. But again, that's licensing for the manufacturer of the shirt, not necessarily for the rebroadcast of this image. It's quite possible that somebody could strike me for this or any other image that I wear on a shirt in a video. But it's interesting to me the angle of censorship that could be taken here with, you know, the EU. And I think this is why they have done this. They've done this with the Article 13 because it is going to allow them to more easily censor everyone. You know what happened in New Zealand recently. New Zealand actually banned any videos or rebroadcast of any videos of that. Even though it was technically news and newsworthy, they banned it and actually criminalized the possession of such a video. Not even if you're rebroadcasting it, but just mere possession of it. And of course, you know, that's a country and it's a sovereign nation that I guess they can do what they want. But the problem with that is it just flies in the face of what we have accepted in Western societies as being part and parcel of a free society, that we get to exchange information, that we get to exchange ideas, that we get to look at things at the source and not have to have it filtered by authorities. Who can tell us what we can and cannot see, what we can and cannot watch. This, my friends, is a very, very scary notion. It's a very, very slippery slope. Now, I do believe that the issues that we're facing on these guitar channels right now are just about copyright battles. But you can see where it would easily descend very quickly into something a lot more fundamental. The other thing I wanted to talk about, wanted to update on, you know, a lot of people brought up the subject of Paul David's video in particular, because on that video it was particularly scary for copyright reasons, because he had actually composed some of his own music, some of his own background music that he could jam along to in his videos. Someone actually stole his music, put words over it, and then re-uploaded it as their own. That brings up something that used to be a fad among musicians back in, you know, in the days before internet mainly. It was something called the poor man's copyright. And basically what the poor man's copyright was a way for you to be able to prove in a court of law beyond a reasonable doubt that you own the rights to a particular composition by mailing it to yourself. Because when you mail something to yourself, the government basically has had its hands on it, because in the United States, you know, we do have a government post office, and anything that goes through their system is stamped with a date. So by mailing your own stuff to yourself, you are able to circumvent having to pay to have your stuff officially copyrighted through the Library of Congress. But I wanted to talk about the modern 21st century equivalent of the poor man's copyright. Now in the 21st century, things move so fast and everything is online and everything has to be scanned. The problem with a poor man's copyright is you would actually have to go to court and have somebody who, you know, was either a notary public or you know, somebody in an official capacity open the package. Otherwise, it defeats the purpose of having one to begin with. So the best thing that you could possibly do for yourself, if you want to protect yourself and have some evidence that your own works are yours in the event that something like this happens to you, that happened to Paul Davids, I would suggest making videos of your songs and uploading them to YouTube, but not publishing them. Just make them private. That's going to make a video on YouTube on your channel with a date stamp. Okay, so internally YouTube will know, Google will know that yes, indeed, this is our date stamp. We signed off that this video was uploaded on this date at this time. So this is a very good way for you to kind of prove that you own the copyright to something. Even if it's just a blank screen, play the song on a blank screen, upload it to YouTube, make the video private, and then at least you have that protection in the event somebody tries to claim back on you, and then you have to go through YouTube or some kind of arbitration later on to prove that that work is yours, because then your date and timestamp will be at a earlier date than the one, you know, obviously later on that somebody tried to steal from you. So, but yeah, you know, lots of things, lots of discussion being had on that other video, and I just thought it was worth making a second video to comment on some of the discussion. One gentleman said, you know, oh, this is BS, you're just whining. Stop whining about copyrights. You have no right to fair use. You're using this stuff in a commercial capacity. You monetize your videos, and that's not true. Now that might be different all over the world. So this is why we have such things as international treaties and agreements for this sort of thing. You know, this is why all this stuff, you know, had been long hashed out, like between countries. But with Brexit coming and with the EU changing the way that they want to do everything, particularly with all the online stuff, it's getting more and more murky, and, you know, who knows what the future might hold, because the US might find it increasingly difficult or impossible to make treaties with the EU, and we could find that we all need VPNs to even talk to one another anymore. And we definitely don't want to get to that point where, you know, somebody in the European Union is completely locked out, like China or something, you know, from the US system, and the US system is locked out of the EU system because of the various laws at play. You know, so somebody needs to figure all this out. We need some leaders who actually care, you know, about freedom. We need some leaders who actually give a shit about things like encroaching tyranny. Because like I said, the point I was trying to make with the licensing thing is, you know, if somebody really wanted to go after this and we don't have the correct treaties to be able to sort this stuff out in international law, somebody could take this down and silence what I'm saying on the basis of a false pretense, like trying to take down a copyrighted image. So it's a particularly dangerous thing. It really needs to be sorted out, and we're going to have some leaders with some backbone who are willing to go after this and do it right. You know, fair use is there for a reason in US copyright law. If that's taken away, then we're going to have big problems. But anyway, yeah, that's it, guys. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please hit subscribe down below. And again, for now, y'all take care.